Okay, it's October. We're doing it. These are the themes for October. We're going to go over them really quick, and we're going to write your mantra. If you don't have the cards from the Donna shop, definitely go get one. I created a bunch of cards for you on there that are for the entire year, and it has your mantras and intentions. So you can kind of have a little place to keep these things and put them, whether it's on your dresser, your altar, or wherever you got. Just a quick little reminder. So what are the themes for this month? The month of October is about balance. I know we talk about balance a lot, but this is the month that's kind of like dedicated to balance. It's kind of like the in-between. It's like the last of summer. It's the last of the warm, especially if you're in the northern hemisphere. And then it's kind of like leading into that winter grind. It's kind of like our little reprieve between the end of summer and the beginning of winter, and kind of like more activity picking up, right? It's our rest month. It's the time that we find what do we want to be doing versus what needs to be done. And that is definitely one of the biggest themes of this month, is kind of like saying to yourself, where is my to-do list? The things that I have to do, the things that I necessarily don't want to do, but keep life going and functioning, versus where is the fun list? Where is the, hey, there's no purpose to these things outside of the fact that they bring me joy, or I just want to do them or try them. So that is definitely something that you should be doing this month, and creating that list. I wrote down some things, so I do have to look, because there are a lot of things for this month if you are watching the YouTube video. Otherwise, you can listen to this on the podcast, which is going to be linked below. And I have an extended version where I go and I help you write your mantra by writing mine. We also kind of go into a little bit more depth of the energies of the month and kind of how I'm using this in my life. So if you want the extended version, the podcast is linked below. Okay, let's talk about it. So what do we have to remember this month? We have to remember that there's beauty all around us, right? Think about it like the fall. The leaves change, they change colors, they come off the trees. They kind of, it's a process of regeneration, and it's beautiful. And even though these leaves are crumbling up and drying out, it is a beautiful process. And if they're left alone, they go back into the earth where they become compost and enrich the soil to bring on new things and regeneration. So even in the process of this kind of dying off of these leaves, there is beauty in it. And so we have to remember to look at the beauty in everything. What else we got going on? We have to find the middle ground between vulnerability and strength. Again, this month is about balance. So we want to look at things like where we're letting our vulnerability shine. And I do mean the word shine, because a lot of times when we start being vulnerable and we let people know what's going on, and we don't have this such tough exterior, or we don't try to be so stoic. Again, this is kind of like, things that have happened in my life. By letting my vulnerabilities shine, I was able to connect to a lot more people. That's why I have this project. It's how I was able to interview people. So I really do find that there's beauty in letting your vulnerability shine. Again, you have to be in a space that's safe, where people are going to have your back and, not exploit those things as well. Pick the people who you're around and make sure they're good people and who you're expressing these vulnerabilities to. We also want to look at strength, where we need to call in that stoicness, where we need to be a little bit stronger, where our strength has gotten us through, where we've pulled on it before, and knowing that we can do it again. And maybe times where we've been too strong, and that has caused us to get overwhelmed or not ask for help, or times where we could have, maybe pushed through. So again, it's about balance and about looking at these things. And one of the biggest themes is vulnerability versus strength. We want to create balance in ourselves, internally and externally, in our social lives, as well as our home lives, in our work lives, versus our fun. We may want to look at reworking things, restarting up old projects, reworking things that we thought were already done. Again, finding the beauty in the mundane, the beauty in the small things, and also, looking for balance in these things. Maybe we need to tweak something a little bit because, like Coco Chanel used to say, before you leave the house, take off one thing in regards to an accessory. Maybe we've overdone it, or maybe we need to add a little bit more and polish it up. Again, before you set something off and out there, just think about these things. Maybe give it one more glance over. We also want to look at our past experiences, where we've doubted ourselves, where doubting ourselves and, finding that we were able to do it and we shined in that moment, or we were able to pull it off, or accomplishment, where that self-doubt on ourselves was completely wasted, and where we don't need to bring that in moving forward into the next chapter of our lives. We want to look at what routines we can bring in that bring in harmony. And we also want to currently look at routines that we have that are actually disrupting. And those are that's a good journal prompt for this month. What routines are bringing in harmony versus what routines are disrupting? You can apply that to people. You can apply that to things that you do. you can apply that question to a lot of areas of your life. And again, the other big thing is you want to ask yourself, and for your journaling prompt is, do I have balance in my to-do list and my chores lists and the things that have to be done versus my fun and creative projects that I want to pursue that don't necessarily have a purpose? I had a conversation with somebody in my family a couple of weeks ago, and they said, one of the things that we have really been taught to do in this family is that we've taught that we weren't allowed to have hobbies, that everything had to have like a purpose or everything had to have some type of financial component to it or make money. And I've really been sitting on that a lot the last couple of weeks because it's true. And they had said to me, I turned all my hobbies into income. And yeah, like sometimes we don't give ourselves the space to just have a hobby because we've been taught to like make your passion your purpose or, do the thing you love and make your business the thing you love. And it's like sometimes you just want to do something you love and not have a reason for it outside of the fact that it just brings you joy and it makes you feel good. So think about those things and kind of ponder on some of those things. Some of the other themes for this month are going to be cutting through the bullshit. This is like a no bullshit, no nonsense month. It's like, what needs to be done? What do I have fun doing? Let's figure out that. Let's get to both of them. It's really like no time for the dilly-dallying and no time for like all the excuses. It really is like, let's get on this. Let's do it. So, and you're going to be feeling that maybe like with people around you too, where you're just like, I'm sick of the excuses. Like, are we doing this or not? And if we're not, I'm going to go do this by myself. And I'm fine with it. The other things is looking at your extrovertedness versus your introvertedness. Where do you need a little bit more out there? Where do you need to pull it back a little bit? Where are you okay being introverted? Where are you okay being extroverted? Where do you maybe want to be more or less of the other? Or maybe you're fine with where you are. The other things we're looking at is harmony in our life in regards to our relationships, the world, how we connect to people, where we can be a little bit more diplomatic, where we're indecisive. And indecisive is like a big theme this month, and kind of where the indecisiveness is holding us back. Or again, in this balance, where we're like rushing to make decisions because we're like, oh, I'm being so indecisive. So like, where is indecisive a power for you versus where is it something that holds you back from like moving forward? So again, it's finding this balance, and the mantra is I balance. Another thing this month is like where you're being hypocritical. So again, in that balance, it's like, where are you telling people what to do versus where are you not listening to your own advice and looking at those things where it may come off being hypocritical. You also want to look at your generosity versus your thriftiness and where you could be giving a little bit more, maybe where you could be contributing versus where you aren't doing that enough, or maybe where you should pull that back and maybe where you should, tailor the budget a little bit more and be a little bit more thrifty or thrifty with your time. Maybe you're overdoing it and giving your friends all your time, or giving someone so much time and being at someone's like beck and call and waiting for them. And whenever they decide to hit you up or text you or, say, hey, let's hang. And you're always like, okay, yeah, I'm down to do that. Versus, if you were to reach out to them, would they have the same response? Or have you reached out to them? Do you reciprocate? So where are you being generous with your time? Where are you being generous with your money? Where are you being generous with your gifts and your creativity, your energy, versus where you're being too generous and overdoing it, again, where you're not doing it enough. So yeah, we can look at all of that this month. October is a nice month. It's transitions, it's seasonal, and for a lot of people it's Halloween, and that's a big event for a lot of people. They love Halloween, they love dressing up. Again, when we look at the balance and we look at kind of like the two sides, a lot of times people dress up as something that, they dress up as something scary. They dress up as something that's kind of different than their personality, or something that they fantasized about being, or, something that's very different than their reality or who they operate and move as in the world. So again, like looking at those kind of two sides. And we look at kind of the masculine and the feminine, if you're looking at energy and themes, and we kind of look at the light and the dark, and kind of like the exterior and what we put to the world versus the interior and the shadow. And, maybe we come off totally extroverted, and maybe we come off totally secure and totally self-confident, but then maybe we're like wildly introverted a little bit, or we're scared shit. And we're like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm even like making this speech right now. Or for me, doing this YouTube video or this podcast, and everyone thinks like, oh wow, she's got it all figured out. She's doing great. She looks good. And in my mind, I'm like, I really hope this all makes sense. So again, looking at those themes for yourself and going to your journal entries. Yeah, if you want to hear the extended version of this, there will be a podcast episode. and we're gonna go over the mantra. And remember, your mantra this month is I balance. So what can you be balancing? Where do you need balance? Okay, so for my mantra, I'm gonna use the I balance card, and I'm gonna write out my mantra. And what my mantra is gonna be for this month is kind of calling in the theme of beauty being all around us, as well as the theme of balance. My mantra is gonna be, I balance myself by finding beauty in the small things. And the reason why that's going to be my mantra for this month is because if you listen to my podcast episode, I've been talking about the fact that I kind of have been like operating in these like highs and lows of life, right? Since the pandemic has happened. And I really want to find balance with my mood and my kind of energy. And I feel like by realizing that every moment, whether it's a big moment, a small moment, or kind of like a muted moment where there's really not much going on, it's beautiful because I'm allowed to like live in it, and I'm allowed to participate in it and be in it, and be around the people I might be in that moment. And, I don't have to look for these like grand things. And that's something I talked about on the September themes podcast episode, if you want to listen to it. But I think that's a good mantra for me this month. I balance myself by finding beauty in all of the small things. It reminds me to stay present, and it reminds me to stay in the moment. I really like that mantra for this month. So if you want to use it, go ahead. But if not, I want to hear about your mantra, and we will talk about that in the comments. So definitely tell me yours, and share. And let me know how you're liking this series and how it's working for you, and all the things down in the comments below. If you want to hear an extended version of this, it'll be on the podcast episode, and you can listen to that, and that'll be linked below. Otherwise, have a great October, and I'll see you in November. Follow, like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the other side. Okay, bye guys.